Chapter 1712, Taiching Ancient Panacea. Chapter 1712, Taiching Ancient Panacea. Jian Wushuang and Sir God Mad Dog left Sir God Luo Shou's. As for Sir God Luo Shou, she had already informed the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance. There would definitely be a negotiation and trade between her and the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance. In short, Sir God Luo Shou definitely wouldn't continue to occupy Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning alone. Jian Wushuang, you have stayed in Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning for at least 10 years. How did it go? Sir God Mad Dog asked casually. Not bad, Jian Wushuang smiled, but there was a tinge of regret in his heart. He really regretted it. If he were to be given another 2 to 3 years, the ultimate divine power in his body would reach his extreme limit and he could finally break through and become Stage 3 Ultimate Real God. It was a pity because the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning was severely damaged and he couldn't continue to absorb the power. How much more divine power do you need to accumulate for you reach your extreme limit? Sir God Mad Dog seemed to be asking casually. Not much, but if I were to have to accumulate it slowly on my own, it should require another 10 of thousands of years, Jian Wushuang said. So long more? Sir God Mad Dog squinted his eyes. He thought for a while and finally made a decision. Boy, as you are quite polite to me, I shall share something with you. Something? Jian Wushuang was confused. You should know that I have been staying in Thunderbolt Island all this while, but I suddenly left Thunderbolt Island and headed to Holy Kingdom of Darklight. There definitely must be a reason, Sir God Mad Dog said. Not long ago, I received news. In Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, someone who found Sir God Dan Hong's cave dwelling. Sir God Dan Hong is an ancient Sir God and he passed away long ago. As for how he died, no one knows. It is said that although Sir God Dan Hong wasn't powerful and he was on the bottom of the list, the elixirs that he refined are extraordinary. He is known to be extremely capable in elixir making, which is hard to come by in eternal chaotic world. He once refined many kinds of high-level elixirs and some of the elixirs are extremely useful to Sir Gods. He also once refined an extremely unique elixir called Taiching Ancient Panacea. It is a very unique elixir and only he could refine it. It contained a shocking amount of divine power. It is said that a Sir God that exhausted his divine power could recover to his peak in a short period of time if he consumed a Taiching Ancient Panacea. Even an Emperor God could at least recover half of his divine power after taking the elixir. Jian Wushuang's eyes shimmered with joy when he heard that. If Taiching Ancient Panacea contained such a shocking amount of divine power, it should be quite useful to those Sir Gods and Emperor Gods. If they were to run into trouble, it would be extremely useful. To Jian Wushuang, Taiching Ancient Panacea contained such boundless divine power and he could absorb it directly. In eternal chaotic world, there is a variety of elixirs that contains pure divine power. However, one that contains such shockingly high amount of divine power, there aren't many, besides Taiching Ancient Panacea. Even if there is, they are extremely rare. One who couldn't play a certain kind of trick wouldn't be able to get them. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly as he understood that too. Previously, it was not that he had never considered precipitating his ultimate divine power droplet via consumption of elixir that contained pure divine power, it was just that the elixirs were extremely pricey and also, the divine power that they contained was nothing compared to the 100 drops of ultimate divine power droplet. To rely entirely on elixir or natural treasure for him to accumulate divine power to his extreme limit, even Lineage of Star couldn't afford the price. Hence, he had come to the Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning. Because such elixirs are too rare and too precious, Sir God Dan Hong's cave dwelling is extremely attractive. After all, Sir God Dan Hong might have left a lot of elixirs in his cave dwelling. There might even be some Taiching Ancient Panaceas. Sir God Mad Dog smiled. When the news spread, it attracted the attention of many almighties in Sanctuary Alliance. However, it's a pity that Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu is Sir God Liu Yin's territory. Sir God Liu Yin isn't weak among Sir Gods. He also has a high position in Sanctuary Alliance. He came out personally and took action for the almighties in Sanctuary Alliance to give up the idea. They gave up, but I didn't. I still want to try the taste of Taiching Ancient Panacea. So, I came out from Thunderbolt Island to go to Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. Who knew I would run into you and bring you to Divine Pond of Absolute Beginning? So what happened to Sir God Dan Hong's cave dwelling? Jian Wushuang asked. It's interesting, Sir God Mad Dog smiled. I received news saying there are many elixirs left in Sir God Dan Hong's cave dwelling and more than 90% of the elixirs went to Sir God Liu Yin. However, somehow or other, the most important Tai Ching ancient panacea among all elixirs, of which there is a total of 9, fell into the hands of a universe god. Universe god? Jian Wushuang was astonished. Something that an almighty was eyeing fell into the hands of a universe god. Was this a joke? I don't know what happened exactly, but Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu is in chaos. There are many people who are looking for the universe god, but they have yet to find even now. Sir God Mad Dog smiled. Jian Wushuang, as you need to accumulate divine power, the 9 Tai Ching ancient panaceas should be helpful to you. Of course, you must first figure out a way to get the 9 Tai Ching ancient panaceas. Thank you, Sir God Mad Dog, for telling me. I shall depart to Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu now, Jian Wushuang said. Go ahead. It's not too far from here to Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. If you were to rush over now, you should be able to get there in time. Sir God Mad Dog waved his hand. He himself wasn't interested in Tai Ching ancient panacea anymore. After all, he only wanted to eat Tai Ching ancient panacea and to try the taste of it. It wasn't like he needed it. However, it was different for Jian Wushuang. When Jian Wushuang found out about Tai Ching ancient panacea, he immediately went to Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. He was really interested with Tai Ching ancient panacea. After all, the divine power contained in Tai Ching ancient panacea was shockingly enormous. It was extremely useful to his accumulation of divine power, and there were 9 of them. If he could get the 9 Tai Ching ancient panaceas and consume them, he reckoned that even if the divine power in his body couldn't reach its extreme limit, it shouldn't be too far away from precipitating the 100 ultimate divine power droplets. Jian Wushuang hurried his journey at his maximum speed in the spaceship. He merely used a dozen years' time before he arrived at Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. Chapter 1713, Yuming Public. Chapter 1713, Yuming Public. In the eternal chaotic world, gaps exist between different border areas as well as between different holy kingdoms. Some holy kingdoms were powerful, while some holy kingdoms were weak. For example, the Snow Kingdom that Jian Wushuang first set foot in when he came to the eternal chaotic world was extremely far away from the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, and it belonged to one of the very remote holy kingdoms. Moreover, it was also an extremely weak holy kingdom that did not have many real gods. However, the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu was absolutely an extremely powerful holy kingdom. Moreover, the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu and the 16 other surrounding holy kingdoms were all under an almighty. This almighty was known as Sir God Liu Yin. The Yuming Mountain was a famous mountain range in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wu. The mountain range was famous for its fighting prowess, not because of the fact that impressive experts had appeared from it or because some powerhouses were present. It was because of the fact that the mountain range was the biggest place in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu where most bandits were concentrated in. The Yuming Mountain stretched across hundreds of millions of miles, and there were more than 1,000 million bandits in it. Among those bandits, there were powerful ones as well as weak ones. The weak ones were normal heaven masters, while the average ones were universe gods, which were great in number. In addition, there was quite a number of real gods within the mountain range. Due to the bandits running wild, the mountain range had a very bad name. On normal days, if there was no need to, many of the cultivators in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu would absolutely not choose to go into the Yuming Mountain. However, ever since more than 10 years ago, where the universe god known as He Xiu escaped into the Yuming Mountain, the Yuming Mountain had become extremely lively. He Xiu was the universe god who possessed the 9 Tai Ching ancient panaceas. As soon as he escaped into the Yuming Mountain, many experts who had cast their greedy eyes on his 9 Tai Ching ancient panacea came to the Yuming Mountain and started to search for him crazily. It should be known that there were too many cultivators who had cast their eyes on the 9 Tai Ching ancient panaceas. Moreover, most of them were experts. This also included many powerhouses and sects of the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, as well as the surrounding 16 holy kingdoms. The number of cultivators was uncountable. With so many experts of the powerhouses and sects going into the Yuming Mountain, the bandits within the Yuming Mountain were totally unable to hold their ground against them. Hence, they were naturally affected. However, it was not easy to find a universe god within thousands of millions of bandits. Hence, to date, after more than tens of years had passed, no one had found Hishio yet. At a spacious main road which was near the center region of the Yuming Mountain, there was an exquisite pub and it was called the Yuming Public. The pub was only built recently and it was a rest area specially built for the experts who were looking for Hishio in the mountain range. In addition, much information regarding the Hongming Mountain was also exchanged in the pub. For example, if a universe god who looked like Hishio were to appear somewhere in the Hongming Mountain or within any group of bandits, the pub would make this information public immediately. For such a kind of pub, they could be found in each and every corner of the Hongming Mountain. Just then, this pub was extremely lively and there were at least hundreds of cultivators talking wantonly. Some of them were drinking wine and chatting while some of them were exchanging information. Swoosh! All of a sudden, a blood-robed youth who was carrying a sword landed in the open space outside the pub. After that, he suppressed his aura and entered the pub slowly. "This mister over here, may I know what you need?" A green-clothed young lady behind the counter asked. "Give me detailed information regarding Hishio as well as what has happened in the Hongming Mountain in this period of time. Also, give me a bottle of wine," Jian Wushuang said. "No problem, but I will require you to pay 200,000 divine gems," the green-clothed young lady said. 200,000 divine gems were equivalent to all the possessions of a weak universe god. However, to Jian Wushuang, it was too little to make a difference. At present, his social status was that of an almighty. For the 100,000 doctrine gems which he had obtained from the Soaring Heaven King Palace, one of them was equivalent to hundreds of millions of divine gems. The green-clothed young lady gave the report to Jian Wushuang. After receiving it, Jian Wushuang found a random seat within the pub and sat down. After that, he started to browse through the report. Many cultivators within the pub knew that Jian Wushuang had come for Hishio. However, they were not too concerned about him. After all of them had come for Hishio as well. Moreover, as Jian Wushuang had suppressed his aura, they were unable to tell how strong Jian Wushuang was and they treated him like a universe god who was similar to them. Little did they imagine that the person who was sitting with them was a super existence who would be able to make the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu shiver with fear with a stomp of his foot. Oh, no wonder a universe god like Hsieh can obtain the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas. So it's like that. As Jian Wushuang looked at the report in his hands, he shook his head. The main reason could be explained in one word: greed. It was not Hishio who was greedy. Instead, it was the elders of Hishio. According to the report, Hishio was born into the He family, which was a big family in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. The He family had always been cordial to the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. Moreover, in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, it was definitely a big powerhouse that could get into the top 5 among the powerhouses of the Holy Kingdom. Back then, when Sir God Danhong's cave was discovered within the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, as the cave was too huge and it contained many mazes, it naturally required a huge number of experts to explore it. Hence, the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu sent many experts under him to explore the cave. These experts included many experts from the He family, and even Hishio's father was included. After searching the cave inside out, quite a number of experts under the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu had died, but many of the elixirs that were left behind by Sir God Danhong were retrieved in the end. However, it was a pity that among the elixirs that were retrieved, the Taiching ancient panacea was not present. Against that, the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, as well as the almighty Sir God Liu Yin who was behind him, could not do anything, and they could only assume that Sir God Danhong had not left any Taiching ancient panaceas behind. After all the elixirs that he had left behind were only discovered at the very end, and they were inside 3 Qian Kuan rings. As such, no one could steal anything secretly. Hence, this matter was about to come to an end. However, who could have known that the experts who were exploring Sir God Danhong's cave would unintentionally discover a secret room at the very end? Moreover, it should be known that the secret room originally contained an opportunity as well as a total of 9 Taiching ancient panaceas. However, when the secret room was discovered, the opportunity and the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas had already disappeared. This meant that among the experts under the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, someone had obtained the opportunity and the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas. However, they hid them quietly and did not turn them over. Sir God Liu Yin then became furious. At the same time, the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu was also enraged, and both of them started to investigate. With the investigation, they found their way to the He family. It was an expert of the He family. Moreover, it was He Xiu's father who obtained the opportunity and Taiching ancient panacea in the secret room by coincidence. However, due to his greed where he wanted them for himself, he invited a great disaster to the He family and caused it to be destroyed. Chapter 1714, Alike? Chapter 1714, Alike? He Xiu is quite pitiful. Zhen Wushuang shook his head and sighed. According to the information, He Xiu was the top genius of the young generation in He family. Not only was he talented, his mental state was terrifyingly strong. He had extremely great potential. However, after the news of him privately possessing opportunity and Taiching ancient panacea spread, He Xiu suffered the calamity of his family being exterminated. Almost the entire He family was killed. Only he managed to escape along with the opportunity and Taiching ancient panacea. Then, he ran into Yuming Mountain and countless experts chased after him. He was originally a god's favored one, but he was being hunted. He Xiu was of course pitiful. Although he was pitiful, Zhen Wushuang wouldn't pity him at all. After all, he was one of those who were chasing after He Xiu. In the pub, Zhen Wushuang was drinking alone. At the same time, he continued to flip through the information. Then, a dozen figures came into the pub from outside. These people let their auras spread wantonly. All of them were peak universe gods in the third heaven. Among their leader, a brown-haired man, was already a void real god. One should know that they were only in one of the holy kingdoms, not a place like the 10 sanctuaries. A real god leading a dozen of peak universe gods in the third heaven, such a troop was terrifying enough. These people are from Ling family. Ling family? The originally noisy pub instantly went quiet. Everyone in the pub was looking at the dozens of people from Ling family who had just walked it. Most of them had fear in their eyes. Ling family? Zhen Wushuang took a glance at the people. From the information that he had just read, Ling family was like the He family that was exterminated. They were both big families in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, but they were slightly more powerful than He family. However, Zhen Wushuang couldn't even be bothered by the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, let alone Ling family. With a simple glance, Zhen Wushuang continued to drink while he read the information on hand. The few of you, go away. The brown-haired man, who was the leader of the people from Ling family, looked at the few cultivators at the table before him and pressed over with his real god aura. The few warriors' faces grew pale from the pressure and they immediately gave their table up with hesitation. The brown-haired man sat at the table and there was someone who poured him a drink immediately. Humph, He Xiu, that bastard, he is so well hidden. It has been over 10 years and we have yet to find him, the brown-haired man roared without any cover-up. Ling family and He family were the 2 strongest families in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. They were normally sworn enemies. Then, as He family was in trouble, Ling family was, of course, the happiest party. Ling family was also the most hard-working party that was chasing after He Xiu from He family. The brown-haired man was burning with rage. He chugged his drink and looked around him. Looking at the gaze of the brown-haired man, everyone in the pub lowered their heads. Only Zhen Wushuang was still flipping through the information in his hand. Huh! The brown-haired man's gaze stopped at Zhen Wushuang. This person. It wasn't because Zhen Wushuang didn't lower his head that he noticed Zhen Wushuang, but because of Zhen Wushuang's attire. The brown-haired man flipped his hand and there was a copy of the information in his hand. He was from Ling family and Ling family knew He family the best. He was also very familiar with He Xiu. Hence, the copy of the information about He Xiu that he had was in much more in detail than the one provided by Yuming public. crimson robe, carrying a sword on his back. Back when he Xiao was wandering, he dressed in a crimson robe and carried a sword on his back, exactly like this person before me. Both of their features look very young too. The brown-haired man fixed his gaze. He had never seen He Xiao before, nor did he have He Xiao's portrait, but he knew He Xiao's attire. He Xiao was good with a sword and he was crazy about swords. So, he always carried a sword on his back. You saw He Xiao once. Is it this person? The brown-haired man looked to a universe god from Ling family next to him and asked. Misty, when I saw He Xiao back then, I only saw him from afar. I didn't see his facial features. But in terms of body shape and attire, the two of them are quite similar. But He Xiao is running for his life. He wouldn't come to Yu Ming pub like an idiot and not bother to disguise himself. The universe god from Ling family said. Humph, we will find out if it is him when we question him. The brown-haired man humped coldly. He looked at Jian Wushuang with a sharp glare. Young man, come here. As he humphed, his real god-level pressure pressed onto Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang continued to flip through the information in his hand, but he glanced at the brown-haired man. You'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, you'll regret it. Ha ha, in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, who has the capability to make Ling family regretful? This is such a joke. Young man, you'd better take out your Qian Kuan ring for me to check. Otherwise, I will kill you and check your Qian Kuan ring after. The brown-haired man scoffed, but it was doubtlessly a commanding tone. The universe gods from Ling family who stood behind him were smirking coldly too. Then, Jian Wushuang didn't speak anymore but extended his finger slowly and pointed in the direction of the brown-haired man. Vroom. A shapeless sword intention swept out. The sword shadow looked weak and didn't seem to be powerful at all. But when it appeared, it instantly flew before the brown-haired man. The brown-haired man was still smiling, but there was a sudden shock in his eyes. The sword shadow flew past his body, then through the universe gods' bodies behind him. Then, the sword shadow quivered and dispersed. Jian Wushuang reined back his palm and raised his glass to take a sip. In this world, there are so many idiots. Even though he is already a real god, Jian Wushuang muttered and remained at ease. The cultivators from Ling family, their bodies stiffened on the spot and then fell one after another. Then, there was not a squeak but only blood that constantly flowed out from their wounds. Every cultivator in the pub saw the scene and their faces grew pale. They looked at Jian Wushuang with an unprecedentedly terrified look. Real God was an absolute superb expert in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. However, a superb expert was just like an ant when he was killed by the person before their eyes so casually. Such power. These people immediately understood that the young man in the crimson robe who was sitting alone while he read the information was truly a top expert. He was at least the level of an eternal real god, or even higher. Chapter 1715 Ling Family. Chapter 1715 Ling Family. The Yu Ming pub became quiet again. As for the bodies of the experts of the Ling family, some people from the pub came to remove them immediately. However, after that, no one in the hub dared to make a racket. They even dared not to talk loudly as they were frightened that they might make Jian Wushuang dissatisfied. Jian Wushuang was too lazy to care about it and he continued to look at the report. However, all of a sudden, the green-clothed young lady behind the pub's counter walked to Jian Wushuang. This lord over here, the green-clothed young lady was modest and she was not too fearful. What's the matter? Jian Wushuang did not even turn his head back. Lord, do you know that the people who you just killed were experts from the Ling family, and that they are only inferior to the king? Throughout the ages, the people who had provoked the Ling family did not have a good life. Thus, I advise Lord to leave quickly before the experts of the Ling family come, the green-clothed young lady said. Oh, thank you very much for telling me. After talking, Jian Wushuang did not have any response. The green-clothed young lady frowned and continued to talk. From the looks of it, Lord seems to be an expert who came from another holy kingdom. Hence, you do not know how powerful the Ling family is. The Ling family itself has more than 20 real gods. Among them, there are a total of 5 eternal real gods. Moreover, they even have a chaotic real god. It's a chaotic real god who can totally become a king if he were placed in some normal holy kingdoms. With such a great force, Lord. I understand. Jian Wushuang only nodded his head like before. Seeing that Jian Wushuang did not have any response, the green-clothed young lady shook her head and stopped advising him. Although the people within the pub were afraid of Jian Wushuang's abilities, they did not leave in a rush. Instead, they were waiting to watch the show that was about to occur. After all, not just anyone could kill the people of the Ling family. Moreover, the people who Jian Wushuang killed were a real god with 10 other top universe gods of the third heaven. Forgetting the universe gods, a real god was like a tower of strength to the Ling family. As expected, in no time, the experts of the Ling family who had gotten the news arrived. This time around, 20 experts from the Ling family had come. Among them, there was a total of 3 real gods as well as 1 eternal real god. After they arrived, they saw the piled-up bodies of the experts of the Ling family which were unburied outside the pub, and they became furious at once. Who is this person who dared to see my Ling family as nothing and kill my experts wantonly? A loud and furious shout which sounded like a lion roaring resounded throughout the whole pub. The roaring voice then caused some cultivators with weak abilities among the many cultivators in the pub to have no choice but to cover their ears. As the frightening pressure spread, a red, long-robed, and stalwart old man with scarlet hair walked over slowly under the escort of his group of people. The scarlet-haired old man was the eternal real god among the group of people, and he was also Ling Yang, an expert from the Ling family who was known for his mighty reputation in the holy kingdom of real Wushu. Upon seeing the person who had come, many cultivators in the pub revealed a fearful expression, and all of them lowered their heads. In addition, some of them even stood up immediately and retreated to the end of the edge. Only Jian Wushuang continued to sit down on his seat normally like before. The scarlet-haired old man Ling Yang naturally noticed Jian Wushuang straight away. Hey! Ling Yang's expression turned grave. Jian Wushuang had intentionally hidden his aura, and normal cultivators were indeed unable to tell him apart. However, Ling Yang was an eternal teal god, and Jian Wushuang's stage 2 ultimate real god was equivalent to the level of an eternal real god. Since Jian Wushuang was of the level of Ling Yang naturally managed to tell him apart. So it's an eternal real god. No wonder he is able to kill Ling Dao and the rest of the people. However, the people of the Ling family are not people who can be killed by anyone. Even if you are an eternal real god, it's still not allowed. Ling Yang bellowed with rage. I have already killed them. If you wish to avenge them, go ahead and be my guest. There's no need for any unnecessary words. Jian Wushuang's voice was ice-cold. Haha, what great courage. Seems like Iron Lion Ling Yang, have not fought for a very long time, and the dynasty of real Wushu is about to forget about me. Since that's the case, I shall let everyone know my mighty name, Iron Lion, again. Long Yang was extremely furious and also laughing at the same time. His laughter contained frightening sound waves which spread across the area. Little kid, die. With a furious roar, air currents appeared as Ling Yang had already launched an attack. This sound is really noisy. Jian Wushuang shook his head and extended that slender finger of his like before. With a finger, a similar shadow appeared. Previously, this shadow had killed Ling Dao and his group of people right away. At that moment, when Jian Wushuang unleashed it again, he seemed to have pierced the body of Ling Yang instantly. Ling Yang opened his eyes widely and they were filled with shock. However, his body had already started to fall. An expert of the current generation, Iron Lion Ling Yang, who was famous in the holy kingdom of real Wushu, was killed instantly. Such a scene caused the people within the pub to be shocked again. As for the experts of the Ling family, they were extremely astonished as well. Go back and tell the head of the Ling family that I do not wish to cause trouble. However, if anyone dares to provoke me, I will not give them any mercy. I have already killed 2 waves of experts from the Ling family. If he has the guts to do so, he can continue to send the 3rd wave over. However, I can guarantee that he will regret it. Jian Wushuang's voice spread slowly as he drank his wine. The experts of the Ling family were shivering in fear and they did not dare to stay. They then took Ling Yang's body along with them and headed back. Upon seeing that, Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had absolutely no intention of starting trouble, and it was the people of the Ling family who took the initiative to look for him. However, with his abilities, he could destroy countless powerhouses similar to the Ling family with just a flick of his finger. However, doing that would attract too much attention. At that time, He Xiu had not been found and the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas had not appeared yet. As such, Jian Wushuang did not want to attract the attention of Sir God Liu Yin at such an early stage. As for the Ling family, he did not plan to continue massacring them. However, if the Ling family was not tactful, then he was not to blame. "Ha, your abilities are strong," a hearty laugh could be heard abruptly. Jian Wushuang continued drinking like before, and everyone within the pub looked to the source of the voice. A green-robed, middle-aged man who was carrying a green thunder saber on his back had already entered the pub. The green-robed, middle-aged man looked scholarly. However, Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with a bit of arrogance. "I am Di Lei. May I know who you are?" The green-robed, middle-aged man walked to the front of Jian Wushuang and questioned modestly. When the surrounding people heard his name, they revealed shocked expressions. "It's Blood Thunder Saber Di Lei, the person whose abilities are only inferior to the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. A chaotic real god? Gosh." Those people were so shocked that they were stunned. However, Jian Wushuang was still normal like before and he was not too concerned. "Di Lei? My name is Sword Emperor." Jian Wushuang's voice was dull. Chapter 1716, Team Up. Chapter 1716, Team Up. Sword Emperor? Di Lei was surprised. Not only was he famous in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, but he also wandered in the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms. Hence, he was familiar with the experts in the 16 Holy Kingdoms, but he had never heard of Sword Emperor. Maybe he is an expert from outside of 16 Holy Kingdoms, Di Lei thought to himself. Then, he asked with a smile, "May I take a seat?" "Go ahead." Jian Wushuang didn't refuse. Di Lei sat down opposite Jian Wushuang. "You should be here for the 9 Taiching ancient panacea in He Xiu's hands, right?" "Yes." Jian Wushuang didn't deny it. It was useless to deny it. As he was already in Yuming Mountain, he definitely came for Taiching ancient panacea. It's a pity that although Taiching ancient panacea is impressive, it is useless for us real gods. Plus, no matter who gets the Taiching ancient panaceas in the end, they have to give it to Mr. Liu Yin. "What we could get at most are rewards from Mr. Liu Yin," Di Lei said. "Why is that?" Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. "You didn't know?" Di Lei looked at Jian Wushuang curiously and said, "No matter if it's Holy Kingdom of Zhenwu that we are in now, or the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms, they are under the control of Mr. Liu Yin. Treasures like Taiching ancient panacea aren't something we real gods can have. Mr. Liu Yin spread words long ago. Whoever passes him the Taiching ancient panaceas will receive a great reward from him. That's a reward from an almighty." There was passion in Di Lei's eyes. Taiching ancient panacea contained divine power which was too enormous an amount. To Sir God or Emperor God, it was extremely useful, but it would be a waste for a real god to consume a Taiching ancient panacea. Regardless of if it was expert in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu or experts attracted from the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms, even if they retrieved Taiching ancient panacea, they would only offer it to Sir God Liu Yin in exchange for treasure. Even so, it was enough to make countless experts go crazy. Sir God Liu Yin doesn't look for He Xiu himself but used the experts from the 16 Holy Kingdoms under his control to look for him. He only spread a message and there would be people sending him the Taiching ancient panacea. He is a very wise man, Jian Wushuang smiled. "Do you know how many experts came to Yuming Mountain to fight for Taiching ancient panacea?" Di Lei asked again. "No idea." Jian Wushuang shook his head. "Many. So many that it is beyond your imagination. Not only the experts in Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu and the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms, but also many experts from the 16 Holy Kingdoms rushed over. If all of them are added up, the number of real god is unknown. Even the number of chaotic real god is many," Di Lei said, and there was astonishment in his eyes. "There are so many experts. When He Xiu is found, there would definitely be a fierce fight." I reckon there should be a number of passing rate, even if they are chaotic real gods. Maybe. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, but he couldn't be bothered. Real god? So what if there are many of them? Then, Di Lei seemed to find that it was an opportunity, and he finally explained his purpose in coming. Although you are extremely strong and you couldn't even be bothered with Ling family, you are all alone after all. If they were to start a fight, you would not have enough manpower. The Taiching ancient panacea wouldn't fall into your hands. Why not you team up with us? You. Jian Wushuang glanced at Di Lei. Besides you, who else? There are the other 4 experts from the 16 holy kingdoms. One of them is a chaotic real god, the other 2 are peak eternal real gods. With you, our team would be even stronger. By then, even if we were to come across the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu, we wouldn't have to be afraid. Di Lei smiled. I see. Jian Wushuang smiled, but then he shook his head. I'm sorry. I prefer to be solo. I'm not used to teaming up. Di Lei's face grew dim. You should reconsider this carefully. Although you are powerful and you could even fight against a chaotic real god alone, there are many that could kill you during the fight later on. I don't know if there's anyone who could kill me, but I don't like to team up with others. Jian Wushuang's face was cold. Di Lei didn't bother to convince him. Well, good luck. Watching Di Lei leave, Jian Wushuang continued to drink by himself as he smiled faintly. Di Lei might be sincerely asking for him to team up, and what he had said was reasonable. If Jian Wushuang was only an ordinary chaotic real god, he would only stand a higher chance to get Taiching ancient panacea if he were to team up with Di Lei. However, Di Lei didn't know Jian Wushuang's true power. In the fight for Taiching ancient panacea, Jian Wushuang was only concerned Sir God Liu Yun. As for the other real gods, he couldn't be bothered. With his power, did he need to team up with anyone? After he talked to Di Lei, Jian Wushuang thought highly of Sir God Liu Yin's method of doing things. If he was not mistaken, he reckoned that all the Yuming pubs in Yuming Mountain should be operating under the command of Sir God Liu Yin. The information provided to the cultivators in Yuming Mountain by the pub for the cultivators to look for He Xiu's whereabouts. While Sir God Liu Yin himself sat on the fishing terrace, he controlled everything in his hands. Regardless of who got the Taiching ancient panacea in the end, they would send it to him. The only thing that he needed to do was pay some rewards. If the fight for Taiching ancient panacea was really just among a bunch of ordinary real god, even the top chaotic real god couldn't run from Sir God Liu Yin's control. It was a pity that Sir God Liu Yin definitely didn't think that Jian Wushuang would come by. The rest of the time, Jian Wushuang continued to stay in the pub as he waited in silence. He wasn't interested in looking for He Xiu's whereabouts over hill and dale like the other cultivators. He knew that there were so many people who couldn't find He Xiu over 10 years. He didn't think he would be so lucky to find He Xiu all by himself. Plus, once He Xiu was found, unless the person was killed, there would be a slight bit of news leaked, and Yuming Pub would announce it to the public. Then, Jian Wushuang could also instantly know his location and head over to find him, which would be much easier. As for Ling family, when they find out Jian Wushuang had killed Ling Yang, the higher-ups in Ling family were pissed off, but they also knew that Jian Wushuang was an expert who likely could be compared favorably with a chaotic real god. Plus, their main focus was to look for He Xiu. They wouldn't come to make trouble with Jian Wushuang in the near future. Chapter 1717, He Xiu shows himself. Chapter 1717, He Xiu shows himself. In a flash, another 8 years passed. From the time that He Xiu had escaped into the Hongming Mountain to the present, more than 20 years had passed. With over 20 years of time as well as so many experts searching crazily in the Hongming Mountain, He Xiu was still not found. Hence, quite a number of people could not help but wonder if He Xiu was still inside the Hongming Mountain. Or perhaps someone had already found He Xiu, killed him, snatched the Taiching ancient panaceas away and escaped stealthily after that. Although there were some suspicions, many experts still did not give up. In a gorge of the Yuming Mountain, there were many buildings. This place was a lair of a big group of bandits. Within a secret room, 10 figures were gathered together, and the person sitting at the highest point was a hunchbacked old man with an extremely evil aura. The hunchbacked old man had gloomy eyes. However, his expression was a bit pale. During this period of time, Yuming Mountain has not been very peaceful and even our men feel a bit restless. The hunchbacked old man slammed his supporting chair and his indifferent voice resounded within the secret room. After that, he looked at a crafty-looking, black-haired youth. Shui He, I have gotten you to observe the movements of second brother and third brother closely. How has it been? Long Yi, for this period of time, the second leader and third leader have been having secret conversions frequently and they are extremely secretive. Our people are totally unable to mix in with them and we have no idea what they are discussing. However, from their movements, they are probably preparing to take action, the black-haired youth answered. They are really preparing to rebel. The hunchbacked old man's eyes were filled with fury and his aura roused, causing the whole secret room to be filled with a cold frost. The second leader and third leader have been restless for many days. But on normal days, due to your abilities, they did not dare to act recklessly. However, this time around, as you are injured, they found an opportunity, the black-haired youth said. Two thankless wretches. If I had known that this would happen, I would have killed the both of them back then, the hunchbacked old man bellowed loudly and he was filled with hatred. He was an extremely powerful real god who stood at the top of the void real gods and on normal days, he stood by his words within the group of bandits. Even if the two leaders under him were to have some small motives, with him suppressing them, they did not do anything that was out of the ordinary. Hence, he did not take action against the both of them. However, this time around, many experts were looking for traces of He Xiu in the Yuming Mountain. Hence, bandits like them were implicated. Not long ago, some experts came to their territory. As those few experts wanted to search the Qian Kuan rings of all the universe gods under him, they ended up in a conflict with them and a big fight broke out as a result. Although those few experts were repelled in the end, he was seriously injured and to date he had not even recovered 50% of his abilities. Hence, this allowed the two leaders under him to find an opportunity. The hunchbacked old man was discussing with everyone how to deal with the two leaders. However, all of a sudden, the big door of the secret room was kicked open. After that, a big group of people came in and the people right in front of them were the two leaders. Second brother and third brother, both of you are really going to rebel. The hunchbacked old man smote the table and stood up in anger. Haha, we have been unable to stand an old bastard like you since long ago. Since we have an opportunity this time around, how can we let it go? Since everyone happens to be here, we shall kill of you together. With an order from the two leaders, many of the bandits under them charged in immediately. A great battle burst forth instantly. On the battlefield, the hunchbacked old man's side was definitely at a disadvantage and it was very one-sided. Under the siege of the two leaders, the hunchbacked old man himself was also in imminent danger. Thus, the people under him were probably in a worse condition. Swoosh. A strange figure was shuffling back and forth in the battlefield. This person was the crafty-looking black-haired youth known as Shui He. Although he looked ugly, his abilities were outstanding. The black knife that he held in one of his hands was either swung from time to time or swung cunningly with an extremely fast speed and it swept past the bodies of many universe gods. After just a short amount of time, Shui He had already killed 6 universe gods. Little kid, your abilities are not too bad. No wonder you have such a high position after joining for only 10 years. However, it's a pity that you have followed the wrong person. Brothers, kill him. After a purple-clothed man bellowed loudly, a total of 10 bandits besieged Shui He immediately. Those bandits were all universe gods and there was a total of 5 universe gods of the third heaven among them. With all of them teaming up and besieging Shui he could only retreat again and again in defeat. No, I won't be able to last any longer. Shui He's eyes were cold and he was looking at the situation around him. Those bandits had surrounded him from all sides and he could not find any opportunity to escape unless he could kill all of them. However, with that, I have no choice. All of a sudden, Shui He's eyes turned cold and his aura changed greatly in an instant. Originally, he had looked crafty and wretched. However, at that moment, it was just like the hell-killing gods. All of a sudden, a crimson sword swept past the area and many rays of crimson light appeared in the void repeatedly. The rays of crimson light were like crimson lotuses which had blossomed. The sad, beautiful scenery then attracted the attention of many universe gods around the area. Swish, 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 tilde. The sounds of the cutting edge of a sword piercing through bodies could be heard repeatedly. In an instant, the throats of the 10 bandits who had besieged Schwerhi were pierced and their lives dissipated. Such a scene then caused those surrounding bandits who were fighting to be extremely shocked. How is this possible? He killed 10 universe gods, including 5 universe gods of the third heaven, with one stroke. This Schwerhi is actually so strong. No, that's wrong. Schwerhi has always used a black knife as his weapon. When did it change into a sword? Moreover, his fighting capabilities are so strong. The surrounding people were so astonished that they were stunned. Even the hunchbacked old man, Long Yi, who was fighting, as well as the 2 leaders, looked over. Long Yi opened his eyes wide. They were not idiots. Schwerhi has obviously been hiding his abilities intentionally. Moreover, he had even hidden the weapon that he used. The most important thing was that even his own aura had changed completely. This was a group of bandits and there was absolutely no need to hide anything. However, Schwerhi had hidden himself so deeply. By thinking of the crimson sword that he used as well as when he joined the group of bandits. He is He Xiu. Long Yi was the first person to roar. He Xiu. The 2 leaders also cried out in alarm. At the next moment, the 3 people who were originally fighting stopped and 3 pairs of eyes which were burning with excitement looked at Schwerhi. It was not fake that they were having an internal fight for the sake of their own benefit. However, these benefits were considered nothing compared to the Taiching ancient panaceas that He Xiu possessed. Kill him. Capture him. Many of the bandits who were originally fighting madly buried the hatchet instantly and headed toward Schwerhi. Run. Schwerhi also did not hesitate in the slightest and he started to run away crazily at once. While running, he no longer concealed any of his abilities. Chapter 1718, Mad He Xiu. Chapter 1718, Mad He Xiu. Yuming pub was still busy and crowded. Jian Wushuang sat in the corner of the pub and drank on his own. No one dared to disturb him. Just then, the maiden dressed in the green at the counter shouted, "Everyone, I just received the latest update. You might be interested." The pub was suddenly noisy and everyone went to the counter to pay 100,000 god gems in exchange for the update. As for Jian Wushuang, he didn't move but the maiden in green took the initiative to pass him the message without taking a single cent. Jian Wushuang browsed through the update carefully. He has disguised himself with a sneaky look and concealed his power. He hid his weapon and hid in a thief lair. As there was an internal fight, he displayed his true power and killed over 10 universe gods with one stroke, including 5 universe gods in the third heaven. Jian Wushuang was surprised. According to the information, he was 80 to 90% certain that it was He Xiu. Schwerhi. His name had the word Schwer as well. Plus, he used a sword and he is powerful. There were 3 real gods among the thieves but he escaped. Jian Wushuang smiled but didn't hesitate and plunged in the direction of Schwerhi. Then, as the news spread in Yuming Mountain, countless experts in Yuming Mountain immediately departed too. Yuming Mountain, in the sunny void. Swoosh. A flowing light pierced at a shocking speed while it was followed by densely dotted rainbow lights that were swift in speed too. He Xiu, you can't run away. Give us Taiching ancient panacea. Otherwise, you have to die. There was a roar followed by another and the sound shook the earth. Besides the people chasing behind, there were a large number of experts besieging He Xiu from all directions. Among the experts, there were real gods, even eternal real gods and chaotic real gods. He was only a universe god. Under such circumstances, it could be said that he was inescapable. My divine power is almost exhausted. I can't escape. He Xiu's face was pale and he felt helpless. It wasn't that he had never thought of consuming Taiching ancient panacea. It could let his divine power recover quickly. However, looking at the situation before his eyes, there wasn't any use if he were to recover his divine power. As I can't escape, let's bet. There was an unprecedented madness in He Xiu's eyes. Swoosh. He who was originally running away, suddenly stopped in the air. Haha, you're going to stop running away? Offer no resistance. The experts hemming him in from all directions had fire churning in their eyes. The 9 Taiching ancient panaceas, whoever got them would receive a bounty reward from Sir God Liu Yin. He was an almighty. Any random reward that was given by an almighty was enough for real gods that had no background to go crazy. Just as the experts were getting closer to He Xiu to kill him and take away the Taiching ancient panaceas. Don't come any closer. Otherwise, I will break them all into pieces. None of you will get them. A low bellow was heard from He Xiu. He extended his hand and gripped a green jade bottle tightly in his hand. He squeezed and the jade bottle, made of an unknown material, suddenly cracked a little. The sight made the surrounding experts' faces change and all of them stopped. There were many experts among them. There were even a few chaotic real god. They really could kill He Xiu easily. However, if He Xiu were to break the jade bottle into pieces before he died and shatter all the Taiching ancient panaceas in it, their efforts would all go to waste. Not only would their efforts go to waste, but Sir God Liu Yin would also be pissed too, right? He Xiu, why are you still struggling now? There was a sudden cold humph that spread across heaven and earth. Everyone looked at the source and they saw 6 figures gathered there. Among the 6 of them, there were 2 chaotic real gods and the other 4 were the top eternal real gods. The leader was recognized in the first instant. It's Di. It's him. The surrounding experts looked on in concern. Di was not only famous in Holy Kingdom of Real God, but he was also famous in the 16 Holy Kingdoms and he was very powerful. On top of that, he wasn't alone but there were many experts behind him. Haha, even a beast would know what is called a desperate fight, let alone humans. Although I, He Xiu, am only a universe god, if I could be chased after by so many experts from the surrounding 16 Holy Kingdoms, I didn't live in vain. He Xiu laughed. There was madness in his laughter, however, even if I die, I will not let you gain a petty advantage. Don't all you want the Taiching ancient panaceas? I will not give to you. I can be burnt to death with the Taiching ancient panaceas. Everyone's faces grew grave when they heard what He Xiu said. Suddenly, go away. He Xiu suddenly roared and he clenched his right hand. The jade bottle that was in it cracked. Vroom. A ghostly figure substantiated about 100 meters away from He Xiu. The ghostly figure was a cold-looking woman. Young man, you are only a universe god, but you're quite quick to respond, huh? The woman glanced at He Xiu with a tinge of discontent. She was good at assassination. She had originally intended to get closer to He Xiu, kill him and take away the Taiching ancient panaceas, but she had never expected He Xiu to notice her. You want to assassinate me? He Xiu's gaze grew cold. He looked around with soaring murderous intention. I'll give you a choice now. Either kill this person who tried to surprise attack me or I will squash the Taiching ancient panaceas. What? The cold-looking woman who surprise attacked He Xiu was shocked. He noticed the surrounding murderous gazes fixed upon her. 4 Taiching ancient panacea, you have to die. Di Lei turned into lightning and struck. Run. The cold-looking woman realized that she had become the public target and she couldn't be bothered with the Taiching ancient panaceas. She instantly started running away. However, not long after she started running, a huge hand descended from the sky. The huge hand covered the cold-looking woman and pinched the cold-looking woman like she was an ant. The huge hand exerted strength and crushed her into pieces before everyone, including He Xiu. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A large crowd plunged over. Their leader was a white-robed man. The white-robed man gave out gentle aura and made one feel as though they were showering in sunlight. The one who launched an attack at the cold-looking woman was this person. Chapter 1719, The Only Condition. Chapter 1719, The Only Condition. It's the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. And the person beside him is Ling Tianxiao, the head of the Ling family. The king has actually come himself. Sounds of shock could be heard from the scene at once. Among the many experts present, although quite a number of them came from the 16 surrounding holy kingdoms, the Yuming Mountain was in the holy kingdom of real Wushu after all. Hence, in the Yuming Mountain, the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu was definitely the overlord, and the abilities that he possessed were the most powerful. Di Lei, I didn't think that you would come as well. The king of the holy kingdom of real Wushu had a vast amount of aura which was like a rising sun illuminating the universe. Upon seeing the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu, Di Lei's expression turned grave. The person who he feared the most in the fight for the Taiching ancient panaceas this time around was the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu. As such, he did whatever he could to rope people over to his side previously so that he could obtain the power required to compete with the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu. However, looking at it then, there was still quite a bit of a gap between them. Not mentioning the others, just looking at the side of the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu itself, apart from the king, there were 2 other chaotic real gods, and the total number of chaotic real gods amounted to 3. As for eternal real gods, there were more than 10. Hence, this was something that was incomparable to him. After sweeping his eyes past Di Lei, the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu felt disdainful. After that, his eyes looked in the direction He Xiu. He Xiu, do you know the crime that you have committed? The king of holy kingdom of real Wushu's voice turned cold and it was filled with strictness. At the same time, his chaotic real god level pressure was unleashed onto He Xiu. He Xiu felt as though his body was about to be crushed completely. However, he still hung on with all his might. At the same time, his right hand exerted some force and the jade bottle broke open completely, revealing the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas which were held by He Xiu in his hands. You wish to force me? He Xiu's eyes were completely red and he gave a shrill roar. The king of holy kingdom of real Wushu's expression turned grave and the pressure that he unleashed dissipated at once. It was obvious that he was also worried that He Xiu would destroy the Taiching ancient panaceas in his fit of anger. He Xiu, you must be certain about your own identity. The Taiching ancient panaceas are not something that a universe god like you can have. Even if it were your He family, they would not have the right to do so. Your father, as well as many experts of your He family, should have served as a lesson for you. If you were to hand the Taiching ancient panaceas over obediently now, I would forgive you and spare your life. If not, you will end up the same way as your father, the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu shouted. Haha, what a joke. For so many years in the holy kingdom of real, my He family has been very loyal to you and we have done many things for you. But what happened in the end? Just like before, you continued to acquiesce yourself with the Ling family to bully us and take the property of my He family. Moreover, you even had the intention of supporting the Ling family to destroy my He family. He Xiu's voice was fierce and ear-piercing. This time around, I admit that my He family is in the wrong. However, we did it to protect ourselves. My father merely wished to use the Taiching ancient panaceas to carve out a new path for the He family. If not because of the fact that we would encounter a great disaster soon, why would my He family dare to hide the Taiching ancient panaceas secretly? As for you, because of this matter, you disregarded many years of the He family's cordiality and exterminated the He family completely. King of holy kingdom of real Wushu, you are really ruthless. Since your He family dares to betray me, you must be ready to die 10,000 times. The king of holy kingdom of real Wushu's voice was ice-cold. He Xiu, I will give you one last chance. Will you hand over the Taiching ancient panaceas or not? Haha, I refuse to hand them over. What can you do to me? At most, the Taiching ancient panaceas will be destroyed with my death. He Xiu laughed loudly and he was filled with madness. He had been prepared to risk everything since a long time ago. Such a scene then caused the king of holy kingdom of real Wushu's expression to turn ugly. He did not care about He Xiu's abilities. However, since the Taiching ancient panaceas were currently with He Xiu, if He Xiu were to really destroy everything, it would be extremely troublesome. Not mentioning the fact that he would not receive Sir God Liu Yin's reward, Sir God Liu Yin might even put the blame on him. He Xiu. A voice could be heard and it came from Di Lei. He also had a grave expression. In such a situation, you have absolutely no chance of escaping. Tell us bluntly. What must we do to get you to hand over the Taiching ancient panaceas? The people present could tell that since He Xiu did not destroy the Taiching ancient panaceas immediately, he definitely wanted to discuss some terms and conditions. Haha, my condition is simple and I only have one. He Xiu laughed coldly and his eyes turned scarlet like the eyes of a wild beast, and he looked in the direction of the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. I will give these 9 Taiching ancient panaceas to the person who kills the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, as well as Ling Tianxiao, who is behind here. As soon as his words left his mouth, the whole void became deathly silent at once. Many experts' eyes were also filled with astonishment. Kill the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, kill Ling Tianxiao? Not mentioning the fact that both of them were chaotic real gods, the most important thing was that they were in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, which was the territory of the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. Thus, how much power did the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu possess? Although there were many experts present, quite a number of them were from the 16 other holy kingdoms. Hence, these experts did not have the slightest bit of courage to fight with the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. After all, if the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu were not killed, they would be the ones to die, as there would be absolutely no way for them to leave the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. As for the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, when he saw the expressions of the surrounding experts, he laughed apathetically and his eyes became filled with contempt. Di Lei, are you going to attack me? The King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu shot a glance at Di Lei. At the scene, the only person who would dare to fight him was probably Di Lei alone. Di Lei's expression was a bit ugly. If it were just killing Ling Tianxiao alone, it would still be alright. However, killing the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu? Di Lei shook his head. He also did not have the courage to fight with the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu in the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu, as it was no different from courting death. He Xiu, you have seen it as well. Even if I were to stand here for people to kill me, which person present would dare to attack me? The King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu sneered. Changed to a more realistic condition, Di Lei also looked over. No, I only have this condition. I will only give all the Taiching ancient panaceas to the person who manages to do it. If no one is able to do it, the Taiching ancient panaceas will be destroyed along with my death. He Xiu roared, I will count to 3. After counting to 3, if no one takes action, I shall turn the Taiching ancient panaceas into a waste product. 1. Upon hearing He Xiu counting, the expressions of the people present turned grave. Quite a number of people looked at the King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. However, they still shook their heads. He Xiu, do you really wish to die? The King of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu was filled with murderous intent. 2. He Xiu's eyes turned completely red. He had disregarded his life a long time ago. 3. He Xiu blurted out a 3 slowly while holding back. As soon as his words came out of his mouth, his face filled with madness and he was about to destroy all the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas in his hands. Wait. All of a sudden, a cry could be heard. The voice was low and it reverberated across the whole universe like a clap of thunder. At the same time, it struck the mind of He Xiu, causing his breathing to stop temporarily and his hands to stop what they were doing. Everyone then looked over. The person who they saw was a crimson-robed young man who carried a sword on his back and he was walking over slowly. Chapter 17:20, I promise you. Chapter 17:20, I promise you. In a crimson robe and carrying a sword on his back. The attire was really similar to He Xiu back when he was wandering. The incoming person was Jian Wushuang. He had arrived in the void long ago but he didn't reveal himself. He intended to wait until the fights start to grab the Taiching ancient panaceas during the chaos, then leave immediately. However, he had never expected that the fight couldn't take place. He Xiu was very careful, smart, and also mad. With him having the idea to burn himself to death together with the elixirs, no one knew what to do with him. He had no choice and he could only come forward. Otherwise, the Taiching ancient panaceas would be destroyed. Before the experts' gazes, Jian Wushuang appeared in the void next to He Xiu. You said earlier that whoever killed the King of Holy King of Real Wushu and the head of Ling family, Ling Tianxiao, for you, you'll give the Taiching ancient panaceas too? Jian Wushuang looked at He Xiu with a cold look. Yes, He Xiu nodded heavily, but the hatred in his eyes didn't diminish. Besides that, do you have any other conditions? Jian Wushuang continued to ask. This, He Xiu was stunned and creased his eyebrows as he said, if possible, bring me away from here alive, away from Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. Jian Wushuang lifted the corner of his lips. He knew that although He Xiu was prepared to burn himself to death with the elixirs, he didn't really want to die. He was truly a god's favored one. Unless he had no choice, why would he be willing to die like that? Your conditions, I promise you. Jian Wushuang said and turned around to look at the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. He then walked slowly. As Jian Wushuang walked to the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu, every expert's face grew awkward. Emperor Sword, Di Lei creased his eyebrows. He knew Jian Wushuang. He had wanted to invite Jian Wushuang to join his team previously to fight against the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. It was a pity that Jian Wushuang had rejected him. Then, he had thought Jian Wushuang was arrogant. From the looks of him then, he wasn't arrogant, simply insane. There was no one who dared to take action against the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu, but he had agreed to He Xiu's conditions to kill the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. You have guts. You killed Elder Ling Yang from Ling family and dared to appear before me. There was a loud roar, and the one who spoke was the head of Ling family, Ling Tianxiao. Then, his hair was fluttering in the air and his eyes were burning with rage. However, Jian Wushuang didn't bother to look at the head of Ling family, and his gaze was fixed upon the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. King of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu, you heard He Xiu's conditions. In order to get the Taiching ancient panaceas. I'm sorry, Jian Wushuang's cold voice reverberated. Haha, there's really someone unafraid of death. The king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu looked on in disdain. You're only an eternal real god. Just how idiotic can you be? Everyone at the scene looked at Jian Wushuang as though he was an idiot. Among them there were people who could tell Jian Wushuang was only an eternal real god. How could an eternal real god be so outrageously arrogant? King of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu, let me take care of this person, Ling Tianxiao said in a deep voice. He killed the experts from Ling family. I happen to want to take revenge. I never thought that he would take the initiative to meet me. All right then. You can take care of him. The king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu smiled coldly. He couldn't be bothered to fight against an eternal real god. Ling Tianxiao smirked coldly as he spread his fierce aura and slowly walked forward. Jian Wushuang shook his head and smiled at the sight. Save the trouble. I can take care of you in one go. Then, Jian Wushuang extended his hand and pointed in the direction which the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu and Ling Tianxiao were in with his right index finger. Hong! The sky and earth shattered. An ancient, huge finger that gave out boundless light appeared from nowhere. The huge finger that could destroy heaven and earth appeared, and the surrounding void shattered instantly. The entire universe was shaking madly. Ling Tianxiao was originally fueled with murderous intention, but he was dumbfounded the moment he saw the huge finger. The king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu behind him was staring with his eyes wide open too. He was terrified and he wanted to run away, but he couldn't escape in time. Rumble. The huge finger first hit Ling Tianxiao, then continued to charge forward. It pressed past the crowd, then the universe calmed down. Then ancient huge finger dispersed entirely. Just as the finger pressed past the void, there wasn't any figure left but only flesh that had yet to be crushed into pieces. Then, there was a strong blood smell that spread. This. Everyone at the scene was dumbfounded by the sight. Ling Tianxiao, and the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu, died? Di Lei stared with his eyes wide open while he gasped a breath of cold air. Dead. Yes, after one finger point, not only did he kill Ling Tianxiao right at the front, but he also killed the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu behind him. He also killed the bunch of real gods that the king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu that brought along with him. The king of Holy Kingdom of real Wushu had brought a total of 3 chaotic real gods and a dozen of eternal real gods. After the finger point, all of them had vanished into thin air. Jian Wushuang did all that and he still looked like he couldn't be bothered. He took the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu and the other's Chen Kuan ring, then his figure turned illusionary and he came before He Xiu. He Xiu gulped. He looked at the person before him in astonishment. Then, there was an unprecedented thrill in his eyes. Dead. The bastard is finally dead. Ling Tianxiao, he's dead as well. They are all dead. The revenge for He family is taken. He Xiu roared and there was madness in his voice. He had already been hopeless at first. He had had no way out, so he had wanted to bet with the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas. He wanted to take revenge. As for his life, he couldn't be bothered anymore. However, he also knew that it was too difficult to kill the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu within his own holy kingdom. He had only had a little hope, but in the end, it had really succeeded. There was really someone who had killed the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu and Ling Tianxiao before him. The people who you want to kill, I have already killed them for you. Give me the Taiching ancient panaceas. Jian Wushuang extended his hand and there was a certain dignity in his eyes. He Xiu's heart skipped a beat and he looked at Jian Wushuang with admiration and gratitude. He didn't hesitate and passed Jian Wushuang the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas that he had been holding tightly in his hand. You have a clear view of things, Jian Wushuang smiled. He put the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas into his Chen Kuan ring before everyone. If Jian Wushuang wanted to, he could totally kill He Xiu as well. The real gods couldn't do anything about He Xiu and only be threatened by him. However, Jian Wushuang had only needed a simple soul attack to kill He Xiu in silence. He wouldn't even have had the time to shatter the Taiching ancient panaceas. It was just that Jian Wushuang didn't do that. Chapter 1721, An Almighty's Anger. Chapter 1721, An Almighty's Anger. Next, I will bring you out of the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. Don't resist. As Jian Wushuang looked at He Xiu who was in front of him, with a thought, his Blood Mountain sword came out of the scabbard and changed into a lofty mountain instantly. The lofty mountain was filled with special secret patterns and they covered He Xiu straight away. He Xiu remained silent. He did not resist and allowed Jian Wushuang to put him in the Blood Mountain sword. After finishing that, Jian Wushuang's eyes looked around the surroundings. Around him, there were countless experts from 16 other holy kingdoms. Among them there were unordinary real gods as well as chaotic real gods. However, when those experts sensed Jian Wushuang's gaze, all of them revealed a fearful expression. Although they knew that the Taiching ancient panaceas had already fallen into Jian Wushuang's hands, no one dared to harbor any greedy thoughts. What a joke! Previously, the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu himself had already made them so fearful that all of them did not dare to attack. As for Jian Wushuang, who stood in front of them, he was a super existence who had killed the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu with just a swing of his hands. Seems like this is it. All of a sudden, a deep voice could be heard. After that, a vast amount of dense fog started to gather at the center of the void and an aquiline-nosed old man was revealed in the end. When the old man appeared, he did not release any aura. However, he still caused many real gods who were present to shiver in fear. Lord Liu Yin. Greetings to Lord Liu Yin. Many real god experts present greeted the approaching person in succession. All of them were filled with respect and admiration. Sir God Liu Yin was the real ruler of the 16 surrounding holy kingdoms, as well as the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu. Although the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu was the leader of the Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu on the surface, in actual fact, with just a word from Sir God Liu Xin, he would give up his position of king without hesitation. For the fight this time around, even though many experts from the 16 holy kingdoms had participated in it, all of them knew that no matter who obtained the Taiching ancient panaceas in the end, they would be presented to Sir God Liu Yin. Sir God Liu Yin swept his eyes past everyone around him and his bleary eyes locked onto Jian Wushuang. You are called Sword Emperor, right? Your abilities are not too bad. My Chen Kuan ring has 1,000 doctrine gems and some other treasures. They shall be considered your reward. Sir God Liu Yin took out a Chen Kuan ring and tossed it toward Jian Wushuang. Also, since the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu has already died, a holy kingdom cannot be missing a king. If you are willing to, you can become the king of this holy kingdom right away. Upon hearing Sir God Liu Yin's words, many experts present were shocked. That's Lord Liu Yin's reward. A total of 1,000 doctrine gems as well as many treasures. In addition, he can also become the king of Holy Kingdom of Real Wushu straight away. Oh my gosh! Lord Liu Yin is indeed an almighty as he is really generous. However, it's a pity that the rewards have been obtained by the Sword Emperor. Countless gazes gathered on Jian Wushuang and they were filled with envy. They were indeed envious of Jian Wushuang. From their point of view, Sir God Liu Yin's reward was too great. For example, even Di Lei's eyes were looking at Jian Wushuang and filled with enviousness. However, there was nothing that he could do. This reward was given to Jian Wushuang by Sir God Liu Yin and none of them had the right to get it. However, upon seeing the Qian Kuan ring that Sir God Liu Yin had tossed over, Jian Wushuang did not extend his hand to catch it. He then glanced at Sir God Liu Yin and laughed indifferently. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in your reward. The only thing that I am interested in is the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas. The void, which was originally lively, became quiet instantly. At that moment, the countless gazes, which were originally filled with envy, filled with astonishment. He did not want the reward. He was only interested in the Taiching ancient panaceas. What is he trying to do? Di Lei opened his eyes wide. Could it be that his ultimate objective of getting the Taiching ancient panaceas is not to get the reward of Lord Liu Yin? Sir God Liu Yin's eyes turned grave and he shot a glance at Jian Wushuang. Little kid, do you know what you are saying? Of course I know. I said that I am only interested in the Taiching ancient panaceas. Since they have already landed in my hands, I will not give them away again. Hence, I will naturally not give them to you. In addition, there is another point. In the eternal chaotic world, there are not many people who have the right to call me little kid. At the very least, you, Sir God Liu Yin, do not have the right to do so, Jian Wushuang sneered. What a joke. At that time, he possessed the fighting capabilities of a Sir God and he was at the same level as Sir God Liu Yin. Since their abilities were similar, they should be talking on equal grounds. Little kid. That was the way an elder would address a junior, or the way a strong person would address a weak person. What great courage. Within the 16 holy kingdoms, you are the first person who dares to provoke me. Sir God Liu Yin was not furious. However, murderous intent flashed in his eyes, which were looking at Jian Wushuang. Boom. The universe shook. The void in front of Sir God Liu Yin changed into waves that looked like a sea of divine power immediately and headed toward Jian Wushuang. In the places that the waves passed by, the voids were all torn into pieces. Such a scene caused many experts present to reveal a fearful expression. All of them knew that Sir God Liu Yin had attacked. An almighty was furious. As for his way of attacking, he did not use any techniques. He merely unleashed a sea of divine power with a thought. However, as the sea of divine power could destroy everything in the universe, the power that it contained caused everyone present to feel hopeless. An almighty. These are the abilities of an almighty. Some people present could not help but gasp in admiration and roar furiously. Di Lei also clenched both his fists tightly and his eyes were filled with shock. To them, an almighty was a legendary existence, as well as an omnipotent god. There was only one kind of ending for someone who offended an almighty, and that was death. The Sword Emperor was finished. However, upon seeing the sea of divine power heading over to him, Jian Wushuang placed both his hands behind his hand and did not move in the slightest. Moreover, he also wore an indifferent smile. Break. He merely uttered a word softly. However, it was like a clap of thunder that resounded across the whole universe. The sea of divine power which was heading over seemed to be cut open by a sharp cutting edge and it was split into 2 halves. In addition, the infinite amount of divine power of the sea of divine power also spread in all directions madly. However, none of it spread to Jian Wushuang. This, many experts around the area were extremely shocked. It was an attack by Sir God Liu Yin. However, in the end, Jian Wushuang did not make any movements like before and he dispersed the attack by merely uttering a word softly. What kind of ability was that? Hey! Sir God Liu Yin's eyes squinted and his expression turned grave. Even though you are merely an eternal god, your divine power is not inferior to mine. If my guess is not wrong, you should be Jian Wushuang. Sir God Liu Yin stared at Jian Wushuang and his voice could be heard. Sir God Liu Yin, you took so long to recognize me. Your judgment is not really good, Jian Wushuang laughed. Chapter 1722, Jian Wushuang and Sir God Liu Yin. Chapter 1722, Jian Wushuang and Sir God Liu Yin. It's really you. Sir God Liu Yin's face grew dim. He was also a member of Sanctuary Alliance and he had also heard of Jian Wushuang, but he only knew Jian Wushuang's name and some of his deeds. He had no idea how Jian Wushuang dressed. After all, he shared no relationship with Lineage of Star and he never thought to have dealings with Jian Wushuang. At the beginning when he saw Jian Wushuang, he didn't recognize Jian Wushuang. But the moment he saw the power that Jian Wushuang displayed, an eternal real god who could withstand his attacks so easily, he reckoned that there was only Jian Wushuang alone who could do that in eternal chaotic world. When the experts from the surrounding 16 holy kingdoms heard Jian Wushuang's name, everyone was confused. Then, they quickly realized Jian Wushuang's identity. Jian Wushuang, the first place on Real God ranking list, Jian Wushuang. Oh my goodness, it's him. First place on Real God ranking list. Along with cries of astonishment, everyone finally understood why Jian Wushuang had had the guts to provoke Sir God Liu Yin. The difference between a real god and an almighty was ridiculously vast. In eternal chaotic world, there wouldn't be more than 3 real gods who could be qualified to challenge an almighty. However, Jian Wushuang definitely had the capability to. Jian Wushuang, I should have never offended you nor should I have offended Lineage of Star, right? Sir God Liu Yin looked coldly at Jian Wushuang. You didn't, but I really have to get the Taiching ancient panaceas. So, I'm sorry, Jian Wushuang smiled. If so, there's nothing much to say. I heard long ago that you are known as the top genius in eternal chaotic world and also an inverse cultivator. You just became an eternal chaotic real god and you could fight against a Sir God. I'd like to see it in person today. Sir God Liu Yin's face grew cold. What tricks do you have? Go ahead and perform them. Jian Wushuang said with confidence. Excuse my immodesty, Sir God Liu Yin's gaze grew sharp. Hong. The void quivered and a boundless divine power suddenly flowed out. It then formed huge gale dragons in front of Sir God Liu Yin. Every single gale dragon was 100 zhong long. There were more than 100 of gale dragons of that size that formed instantly and roared simultaneously. Then, they pounded at Jian Wushuang among the fierce winds. Jian Wushuang could only feel a terrifying storm pressing at him and he immediately withdrew Blood Mountain Sword. Vroom. There was a soaring sword intention that seemed to be tearing everything apart. Jian Wushuang stood there facing the wine but the surrounding people saw his figure vanish into thin air like a sharp sword that was going to pierce the sky. He raised Blood Mountain Sword high in the sky and there were shrill crimson sword shadows that appeared in the void instantly. Every single crimson sword shadow could destroy heaven and earth and was sufficient to strike fear in the hearts of the surrounding real gods, including those chaotic real gods. In an instant, there were 61 crimson sword shadows that carried such power which appeared in the air. The 61 crimson sword shadows appeared and were immediately superposed onto one another. 10,000 waves, break. Jian Wushuang's voice shook the earth and he slashed Blood Mountain Sword downwards. The brand new sword shadow made of the 61 crimson sword shadows suddenly swung out. The sword shadow soared and instantly tore the gale dragons that were charging towards him into pieces. Then, in a short time, it swept out the gale dragon. There were some that were cut across from the middle and broke apart too. The boundless divine power spread in all directions but suddenly, there was a hole in the middle of the divine power, a figure stepped out from the opening. He was Sir God Liu Yin. There was murderous intention in his eyes. His right hand became a claw and he pounded at Jian Wushuang to claw the void. The sharp claw magnified and it was like a dragon's claw at an unbelievable speed. The claw caught Jian Wushuang and Jian Wushuang's body instantly shattered into pieces. Sir God Liu Yi wasn't surprised at the sight, but he looked solemn. The one he clawed at was only a shadow. Vroom. Vroom. There were two ear-piercing noises. Although the sound wasn't loud, Sir God Liu Yin heard it clearly. Then, there were two rays of golden light next to him as well. The two rays of golden light were brilliant and extremely fast in speed. Sir God Liu Yin waved and there were two flowing lights that swept out too. Dang! Dang! There was a loud clash and the two golden lights were shaken off. However, Sir God Liu Yin took a few steps back before he steadied himself too. Then, there were two flywheels that appeared in his hand. One of them was white and the other one was black. They gave out a unique aura which was quite creepy. In the void before Sir God Liu Yin, Jian Wushuang stood there with one hand holding his sword. In front of him, the two Hong Jun golden swords were each on both sides of his body. Those are the golden swords that you used to injure Sir God Qianlan? Sir God Liu Yin glanced at the two Hong Jun golden sword and his gaze was cold. They are quite powerful, but I wonder how are they against my life and death flywheels? Why not give it a try? Then, you'll know. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Because he had known that he would run into Sir God Liu Yin, he had already read through some information about Sir God Liu Yin on his way there. He knew that Sir God Liu Yin was one of the top Sir Gods. Compared to Sir God Qianlan that he had fought with previously, he was much stronger and Sir God Liu Yin was best with his life and death flywheels. The two flywheels represented life and death each and displayed Sir God Liu Yin's comprehension of life and death doctrine flawlessly. Life and death doctrine, one of the 9 heaven god doctrine, focused on being creepy. Die! Jian Wushuang bellowed and the two Hong Jun golden swords that were floating in the air suddenly shook and turned into two resplendent golden lights. They burst out and left two golden straight lines in the void. On the other hand, Sir God Liu Yin drove his two flywheels. Swoosh! Swoosh! The flywheels flew past the void and the speed was shockingly fast too. Dang! 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 The repeated clashing noise rang in the void. Both parties gave full play to their divine powers and comprehension towards doctrines respectively. Hong Jun golden sword and the black and white flywheel that represented life and death clashed again and again. Just the overflowing power that spread was enough to rip a huge black hole in the void. Occasionally, the impact spread to the border of the battlefield and a large number of experts were terrified. The battle was a vigorous fight between almighties. It wasn't a fight that any universe gods or real gods at the scene could get involved in. Even if one were a chaotic real god, they reckoned the chaotic real god might be exterminated by the power of the exchange blows. Hong! 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 The void was torn apart again and again, but it recovered again and again. The battle between the two was becoming white-hot. Chapter 1723, Leaving Leisurely. Chapter 1723, Leaving Leisurely. For you to be able to fight with my life and death flywheels like this, your golden swords are really peculiar. No wonder Sir God Qianlan suffered great losses at your hands. However, although the golden swords are strong and your divine power is not weak, your level of comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei is too low. Sir God Liu Yin's eyes were glowing with a shrill light like lightning. All of a sudden, his white and black flywheels combined and formed a completely new flywheel. Fusion of life and death, kill. Sir God Liu Yin gave a cry. The new black and white flywheel then unleashed an incomparable speed instantly and clashed with the two Hong Jun golden swords. Clang! Clang! Too low, deep sounds could be heard. The two Hong Jun golden swords were actually sent flying unreasonably for hundreds of miles. As for the black and white flywheel, it seemed to be not hindered at all and it continued to head toward Jian Wushuang. What? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He did not expect the combined power of Sir God's Liu Yin two flywheels to be so powerful. He then released his divine power immediately. Ancient God's secret skill, 8 divine mountains. Bang! 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 Loud sounds could be heard repeatedly. All of a sudden, golden, lofty divine mountains descended. Every golden divine mountain was 100,000 feet tall and they were emitting brilliant golden light that was dazzling. Moreover, There was a total of 8 divine mountains. The 8 golden divine mountains appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and acted as 8 protective screens. The black and white flywheel headed over with lightning speed, and the frightening power that it contained destroyed the first 7 divine mountains instantly. However, it was stopped by the 8th divine mountain, the final divine mountain. What strong power! 7 of the 8 divine mountains that I have unleashed with my full power were actually destroyed instantly. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with shock. The 8 divine mountains was the only defense-type secret skill among the ancient god secret skills, and it was extremely powerful. When it was unleashed with Jian Wushuang's current divine power, it could stop the attacks of normal Sir Gods easily. However, for the flywheel of Sir God Liu Yin, although the 8 divine mountains had stopped it, the 8 divine mountains had reached their limits as well. Haha, as expected of Sir God Liu Yin. Your abilities are indeed impressive. Today, I, Jian Wushuang, have learnt a great lesson from you. I shall take my leave now. A hearty and loud laugh echoed across the universe. The 2 Hongjun golden swords had already returned to Jian Wushuang and were put into Jian Wushuang's Chen Kuan ring. As for Jian Wushuang, he turned his body straight away and was about to leave. You wish to run? Sir God Liu Yin's face turned cold. Don't think of escaping without leaving the Taiching ancient panaceas behind. Haha, what a joke. If I want to escape, do you think that you can stop me? Jian Wushuang laughed disdainfully. By activating the secret skill Flowing Light Phantom, thousands upon thousands of shadows appeared. At the same time, he also unleashed the secret skill of Dragon Blood. The moment he unleashed the secret skill of Dragon Blood, his speed rose greatly. In addition, Jian Wushuang had comprehended the space-time doctrine, and he had always been proficient in speed to begin with. Hence, he had already escaped very far away in an instant. Sir God Liu Yin wanted to give chase. However, he was unable to catch up to him at all. In the void, Sir God Liu Yin's figure had already stopped moving. As he looked in the direction that Jian Wushuang disappeared to, his body trembled and he was filled with dissatisfaction. Jian Wushuang, I shall remember what happened today. Sir God Liu Yin clenched both his fists tightly and his eyes were filled with flames of fury. In the surrounding void, when the experts from the 16 holy kingdoms witnessed such a scene, all of them had extremely puzzled expressions. In their eyes, Sir God Liu Yin was an invincible existence. However, on that very day, Sir God Liu Yin was made a fool of by someone else and he had suffered a great loss. Moreover, the person who had caused that was merely a real god. His name was Jian Wushuang, the number 1 on the real god ranking list. After leaving the Yuming mountain, Jian Wushuang slowed down and he moved forward in the void slowly. Sir God Liu Yin. No wonder he has such a big reputation in the eternal chaotic world. His abilities are really not fake, Jian Wushuang gasped in admiration. In actual fact, when comparing abilities for real, Sir God Liu Yin was indeed slightly stronger than him, and Jian Wushuang agreed with this point. If they were to go all out, Jian Wushuang would only have a slight chance at victory by unleashing all his trump cards. However, Sir God Liu Yin was too careless and he had allowed Jian Wushuang to obtain the Taiching ancient panaceas first, obtaining the absolute opportunity as a result. Originally, he had thought that everything was under his control. Without the need to even show himself, someone would naturally present the Taiching ancient panaceas to him obediently. However, he totally did not expect me to participate in this fight as well, Jian Wushuang laughed. The holy kingdom of real Wushu was Sir God Liu Yin's territory and he knew everything inside out. He knew that apart from him, no other almighty was present in the whole holy kingdom of real Wushu. Other than that, he naturally did not need to worry about the group of real gods. Even if the Taiching ancient panaceas were to fall into the hands of Jian Wushuang, he was also not worried in the slightest. It was only after he knew of Jian Wushuang's abilities and identity that he started to feel anxious. However, by then, it was already too late. The Taiching ancient panaceas had already fallen into the hands of Jian Wushuang. Although he was slightly stronger than Jian Wushuang, he was still unable to kill Jian Wushuang. As such, there was nothing he could do to Jian Wushuang. However, if it were another almighty who came, Sir God Liu Yin would definitely be extremely vigilant, and he would have come personally to get the Taiching ancient panaceas a long time ago. Luck, Jian Wushuang murmured. For him to obtain the Taiching ancient panaceas this time around, it was indeed partially down to luck. As for him provoking Sir God Liu Yin as a result of that, Jian Wushuang was not concerned in the slightest bit. Sir God Liu Yin was just a Sir God, and at present he was unable to do anything against Jian Wushuang. As for the future, he would be completely unable to do anything against Jian Wushuang. As Jian Wushuang traveled, he left the boundaries of the Holy Kingdom of real Wushu in no time. In a black void, with a swing of Jian Wushuang's hands, He Xiu, who was stored in the Blood Mountain sword, was released. "I am He Xiu. Greetings to Lord." He Xiu greeted Jian Wushuang respectfully. His eyes were filled with a great amount of admiration and excitement. Previously, Jian Wushuang had put him inside the Blood Mountain sword so that it would be more convenient for him to bring him out of the Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. Inside the Blood Mountain sword, he was not restrained at all, and he could see everything that occurred outside clearly. He had witnessed Jian Wushuang and the legendary Sir God Liu Yin fighting clearly. Moreover, they were fighting head-on. However, in the end, Sir God Liu Yin was unable to do anything to Jian Wushuang. It was obvious that although Jian Wushuang was only a real god, his fighting capabilities were of the level of an almighty. Since an almighty was standing in front of him, so He Xiu was naturally respectful. "I have already fulfilled your request to bring you out of the Holy Kingdom of real Wushu. Hence, neither of us owe each other anything now," Jian Wushuang said. After speaking, Jian Wushuang turned to leave. "Wait," He Xiu spoke hurriedly. Chapter 1724 Registered Disciple. Chapter 1724 Registered Disciple. "What's the matter?" Jian Wushuang glanced at He Xiu. He Xiu took a deep breath, and he then immediately knelt before Jian Wushuang and said, "I earnestly request for Mr. to take me on as your disciple. I will definitely serve you for the rest of my life." "Disciple?" Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. He had only taken in one disciple officially in his life. It was Lin Lan back in Ancient Worlds, who had really formally been apprenticed to him. As for Chen, who that he had met in Qing Tian Mystery Land during his third inverse cultivation test, although he gave pointers to him, strictly speaking, Chen who wasn't his disciple, and he had yet to reach the criteria to be his disciple. However, He Xiu before him. Frankly speaking, Jian Wushuang quite liked He Xiu. He liked him mainly because of his disposition. He was determined. He had a mad heart that was daring to give his all and bet his all. Regardless of if it was when he hid in Yu Ming Mountains and the experts from the surrounding 16 holy kingdoms couldn't find him for over 20 years, or when he had made his last best with the Taiching ancient panaceas when he had no way to go, Jian Wushuang was in awe of what he did. However, Jian Wushuang didn't intend to take on any disciples. "He Xiu, I heard that you're good with swords." Jian Wushuang looked at He Xiu. "Yes," He Xiu nodded heavily. "Show me." Jian Wushuang looked calm. He flipped his hand and there was a long sword in his hand. "Show me all you've got." He Xiu stood up and looked at Jian Wushuang in front of him. His face grew solemn. He knew that Jian Wushuang had given him a chance. The chance was hard to come by, and there was only one. He had to grasp it. He took a deep breath, then there was a crimson sword in He Xiu's hands too. The crimson sword looked rather vicious. Suddenly, He Xiu moved. There was a sudden crimson light, and it was piercingly cold, yet enchanting. The moment it appeared, it substituted the lights in the universe. He Xiu concentrated his understanding of swordsmanship over the years and all his power into the stroke. That stroke was already a real god level of unique skill. Looking at the crimson light, Jian Wushuang was surprised. He had originally thought He Xiu was only an ordinary family disciple of a holy kingdom. Although he was a genius, Jian Wushuang couldn't be bothered with a genius in a holy kingdom. When he saw He Xiu's actions, Jian Wushuang realized that he was wrong. Genius was normally found where it was least expected. He Xiu was absolutely a genius. He should have turned into universe god in the third heaven not long ago, but he already created real god-level unique skill. Most importantly, He has already comprehended a slight bit of power of Heaven Wei. Jian Wushuang could clearly feel that there was a slight bit of extermination power in He Xiu's stroke. Although his comprehension level was low and he had merely comprehended a slight bit, it was impressive for a universe god. 100 universe gods on universe god ranking list, He Xiu will at least be in the top 50, Jian Wushuang complimented as he moved. A simple yet calm stroke, as though it didn't contain any power, but it happened to hit He Xiu's crimson sword. He Xiu's sword momentum instantly dissolved and he staggered. He couldn't help but took a few steps back. How did it happen? He Xiu looked surprised. He obviously had yet to respond. He saw Jian Wushuang's stroke didn't contain much power, nor contain much mystery. He didn't even use any power of Heaven Wei, but he broke his sword momentum so easily. Sword principle. It's his understanding of sword principle. Mr.'s understanding of sword principle is far beyond my imagination. He Xiu clenched his hand tightly and there was a great commotion in his heart. Jian Wushuang's eyes were twinkling with curiosity too. No matter if it is his swordsmanship, comprehension of power of heaven, or his talent, they are all extremely good. Plus, his disposition is great. He Xiu, Jian Wushuang looked at him. Mr. He Xiu replied politely. You are quite powerful. In swordsmanship, you're highly talented too. You are really a genius that is hard to come by. If it were to be any other swordsman, I think they would be dying to take you on as their disciple, but I'm different. Jian Wushuang said coldly, my focus is to chase more power. I hardly have the time to teach a disciple. If you really want to be under me, I can only take you in as a registered disciple and give you simple guidance. As for if I would take you on as a lineal disciple, it depends on your capability and performance. Are you willing? Of course I am. He Xiu looked thrilled. He immediately knelt down before Jian Wushuang and kowtowed politely. Disciple, He Xiu, greets master. Get up then. Jian Wushuang waved and He Xiu felt a bolt of energy that guided him to stand up on his feet instantly. As you are my disciple, you should know my name. I am Jian Wushuang, from lineage of star. Also, I am an inverse cultivator, Jian Wushuang said. Inverse cultivator? He Xiu was surprised. He had heard about inverse cultivators but he didn't know much. I'll bring you back to lineage of star first. As for other matters, you'll slowly find out, Jian Wushuang said. Millimeter, He Xiu nodded but he suddenly paused. Oh yeah, master. One more thing, it's about this. He Xiu flipped his wrist and there was a weird-looking jade sword in his hand. The jade sword was made of an unknown jade. Even Jian Wushuang couldn't determine it. The jade sword obviously didn't look like it was for killing, but it should be something like a token. What is this? Jian Wushuang was confused. The jade sword is like the Taiching ancient panacea. My father found them in Sir God Dan Hong's cave dwelling. My father told me that the jade sword was related to a great opportunity and he told me to take good care of it. As for what the opportunity is, he had no idea either, He Xiu replied honestly. Opportunity? Jian Wushuang was interested. Then, he recalled the information that Yu Ming Pub provided. It had said that not only did he family receive the 9 Taiching ancient panaceas from Sir God Dan Hong's cave dwelling, they had also got an opportunity, but no one knew what opportunity it was. The people who chased after He Xiu were attracted the Taiching ancient panaceas and they forgot about the opportunity. It seemed like the opportunity would be the jade sword. But, looking at the jade sword itself, Jian Wushuang had no idea what it represented. Wait till Hall Master Yuan and the others see the jade sword, they might know the origin of the jade sword, Jian Wushuang thought. He Xiu, let's go. Follow me back to the lineage of star, Jian Wushuang said. He Xiu naturally followed Jian Wushuang obediently. The two of them sat in the spaceship as it traveled to lineage of star directly. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.